Well, over 1,000 Tyson Food employees will lose their jobs in June. The company announcing they are shutting down their plant in Perry. And that is where we find our Dana Searles live. Dana, what have you learned so far?
Well, Stephanie, this is the largest business in this city, and it has thousands of employees who work here. These employees tell me that this has come as a total shock to them. Many of them came into work this morning, saw a few corporate managers walking through, didn't think anything of it, but then later were informed through emails, letters, and meetings in person that thousands of them will be left without a job on June 28th. That is when the business is officially closing its doors, and I spoke with the mayor of Perry, who tells me that their first priority is to help the people who lost their jobs, and they plan to have conversations with Tyson tomorrow morning. Lawmakers add that they are disappointed in this closure. I spoke with an employee who has worked there for over 30 years. He says he is hurting right now for everyone.
I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be like, but I know from what I've heard, there's a lot of people in tears, which I am almost right now, just thinking about it. Just so many people that have given their heart and soul out there, and to have this happen just out of the blue, it's crazy.
Now, the city administrator tells me that another priority they have is to start reaching out to businesses and find somebody to help fill this spot when that closure does come. Coming up at 6, I'll tell you more about the closure as well as more about how employees found out about this and how they're feeling. But for now, live in Perry, Dana Searles, Local 5 News.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about some very sad news, okay? Some news that you really hate to hear about in small town America, which is when jobs leave, okay? And that is what we have to talk about, as Tyson Foods, a big American meat packer, producer, has decided to shut down a pork plant in Perry, Iowa, okay? And that means over 1,000 hardworking Americans are going to be losing their jobs. And this is a town that has struggled with murders, drownings, suicides, and other problems. So when you talk about a major company leaving, okay, and you're talking about thousands of jobs leaving the area, that is not good. That is the last thing that a small town like Perry needs. And again, it's basically disaster, right? It's a disaster scenario for the hardworking Americans in that small town. And it's kind of crazy that this is happening, because the mainstream liberal media and the Democrat Party have been telling us that the economy is great. This is a booming economy, the best economy ever. However, Tyson has shut down 6 plants over the past year, as there's been a drop in demand for some of its products. So once again, we're doing another story about a major company having to cut costs by cutting jobs, okay? Shutting down facilities, closing stores, whatever you want to call it. We've covered so many of these stories, but yet it's supposed to be an economic boom, right? Everything is supposed to be so great in the Biden economy. This is just more proof and evidence that you are being lied to by the Biden administration when it comes to the current state of the economy, okay? Because Tyson is really trying to cut costs, okay? To the point where they allegedly are looking to hire upwards of 52,000 illegal immigrants to fill some of their factory jobs. And this is pissing a lot of people off, okay? Because Tyson is saying that, well, we want to allow some of the asylum seekers that came through New York City to work for us after Biden granted work authorization permits to these individuals, after the Democrat mayors of these sanctuary cities like New York and Chicago begged the Biden administration to allow the illegals to work, okay? So Tyson is stepping up and saying, okay, we will hire some cheap labor, okay, and allow them to work for us. And of course, this is pissing some people off to the point where there are major calls for a boycott against Tyson for their decision to fire hardworking Americans and to then subsequently move to hire illegal immigrants. Again, this is pissing people off to the point where, again, there are calls for boycott. Take a look.
So the un-American food company Tyson, the boycott continues. We're about to Bud Light you. Yeah, we're gonna hit your profit significantly. You thought it would be okay to fire 1,300 Americans so that you can process in 5,200 illegal immigrants into the Tyson food plant because you want cheaper labor? You're not focusing on Americans now. So the offer for these illegal immigrants or asylum seekers is that they have a job and a lawyer. So this seeking lower wages, we have seen this before in our past and it did not work out well then. So I highly suggest you good folks not buy Tyson products anymore.
So Tyson Chicken keeps digging themselves in a deeper hole and getting into more shit than they can handle. Because right now, we're preparing for another boycott, but of Tyson Chicken Company completely. Why? Is because they decided to fire Americans and hire the illegals that come here because they'll work for cheaper wages than Americans will. But not only that, they're going to provide them with lawyers and counselors to make sure that they can do so. Do you see the problem here? Fire Americans, hire illegals. That's the whole plan, is to get us Americans out of here. But not only that, do y'all remember back in October and November when Tyson Chicken Food Company invested in insect protein for their meats? Like, do you guys even know what you're eating?
They have a program, they say, that will alleviate the headache for city leaders that complain about having too many migrants. The migrants will be offered $16.50 an hour, along with other benefits that include temporary housing, childcare, and legal aid. They will be given free representation. So now, as you can imagine, there are calls for boycotting Tyson Foods. So distract everybody with a burning story in the media, right? TikTok, the House passing measures to get rid of TikTok, and everybody's paying attention to that. And this is what they're doing in the background. Have these corporations lost their mind? They seem to be going rogue. Newsweek is pretty reputable, so I'm inclined to believe what I read. And it's very disturbing and disgusting.
There you have it. Tyson Foods boycotting and sacks 1,300 of their staff. They're going to rehire illegals, and they're going to give them lawyers for their immigration process. Tyson Foods, you have just stooped to the lowest level common denominator there are, because you're taking away from the citizens and giving it to the people who don't even deserve it. Paying them $16.50 an hour. They want to hire 42,000 asylum seekers, and they want to bump that up to 84,000 by the end of next year. So my tribe out there, you know what to do with Tyson. It's time to read some labels, get educated, share information. Tribe time, because this is unacceptable.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that. It is unacceptable, okay? But this is what inevitably was going to happen, okay? I mean, there are two sides to why the illegal immigration is being allowed to happen at the levels that is being allowed to happen, right? There are two sides. We all know the Democrats want to bring in new voters, right? They want to bring these people in and eventually give them a pathway towards citizenship, aka a pathway towards voting, okay, so that they can vote Democrat, right? That's one side of the equation, okay? But the other side of the equation is why both parties, and I'm being 100% honest with you guys, why both parties don't really mind illegal immigration, why Republicans don't really try that hard to close the border, even when they have the power to do so. Like, for example, under the Trump administration, Republicans fought Trump tooth and nail to keep him from being able to fund and build the border wall. Well, why is that? Is because just like Democrats, the Republican Party has been bought off by big business, right? And big business, companies like Tyson Foods, they depend on cheap labor in order to pad their profits. And that's what you're seeing right now, which is Tyson Foods using cheap laborers, paying these illegals $16 an hour, allegedly, and providing them free housing and all other stuff, which is probably going to be really cheap because a lot of these illegals probably don't mind packing themselves into one place and, living 10, 12 people in one 3-bedroom home or whatever. They don't care. Okay, so it's going to be extremely cheap. They don't mind doing that, but they get the cheap labor, right? So the Americans, too expensive, bring in the new workforce, and the companies, the American companies, get to pad their bottom line, okay? And the politicians get a kickback, okay? Republicans can go to the border and they can virtue signal, we need to close the border, right? While at the same time, not actually really trying to do it, right? Pretending like they're trying to do it, okay? But when they get the power to do it, they actually really don't do it, okay? And then they collect that check from Tyson Foods, who probably donates to both sides of the political aisle. And, hey, they pad their bottom line. Politicians get their campaign funds, and the political game continues, right? That is the honest to God truth about what is happening when it comes to the border and why you see the illegal immigration crisis never get solved, why we never close the border. Because, again, for both parties, they're interested in keeping the border wide open, okay? That's the black pill, okay? I think that's the appropriate term. I'm not sure if it's the black pill or the red pill. But anyways, regardless, let's learn a little bit more about Tyson and their plan to hire illegal immigrants from Bloomberg.
Bloomberg's Simone Foxman is reporting on how meatpacker Tyson Foods is capitalizing on this inflow. And Simone, this is one of the stories that really got my attention this morning on the Bloomberg terminal. We know that critics of the White House talk about New York City migrants as illegal, but your story actually points out that they have work authorization. Walk us through what that means.
So these are asylum seekers or people applying for a very similar temporary protected status. So
they're legally, okay? They're here illegally. Biden is allowing them to work because the Democrat mayors begged him to allow them to work. Now this is happening. Now, again, this story should be shared far and wide, right? Because this example of, again, what the long-term plan is, what Democrats and a lot of Republicans actually want, okay? They want the illegals to be able to work, okay? This was always the plan. This is why they put all the illegals in these black communities, and they're dealing with the issues right now of the pushback, but they're just waiting until these people can work, right? Once these people can work, this is why they're begging Biden to just speed it up. The problem is it's politically unpopular to do so, right? Biden will take a major hit if he continues to give out work permits, because you're going to get stories like this of Americans getting laid off and illegals getting jobs, okay, which is going to severely hurt the Biden administration. That's why he doesn't want to do it. But if Biden wins again, best believe all bets are off, okay? If there's one reason not to vote for Biden in this next coming election, besides everything else that's going on in this country, this is the reason. Because once Biden wins again, if he wins again, okay, all bets are off. All of these illegals, okay, 10 million plus of them that have come into this country are all going to get work permits, and American jobs can get cut immediately, right? Because these companies will instantly be able to save money, especially when it comes to these factory jobs, by hiring these migrants at a much lower wage. And all these small businesses in these so-called minority neighborhoods, again, a lot of these people that were already there before, they're going to get laid off too, right? They're going to get laid off, and the migrants will get hired. Okay, you're going to be replaced when it comes to labor, and also when it comes to your voting power. And this is what you sign up for when you vote Democrat. Now, again, I got my beef with Republicans as well too. But again, you're going to get it a lot worse voting for Democrats than you are voting for Republicans. At least under Trump. Trump tried, right? Trump did everything that he could, okay? He did everything in his power. But it's up to us to hold the politicians accountable. Right? And this is why I've been railing against Republicans in regards to how they've handled this border negotiation with Democrats. They're not trying hard enough. Okay? I'm not falling for the nonsense from Republicans anymore. Okay? I actually want to hold them accountable for closing the border because I'm sick and tired of the bullshit. Okay? From both sides. So again, one of my main reasons for voting for Trump is that I know he's going to try. Right? I know he's going to try, but again, it's up to the voters to hold him accountable. But you got to be willing to risk it all. Look at what the pro-Palestinian protesters are doing. Right, to Democrats. They're telling Democrats, we don't care if Trump wins. We'll let Biden lose, okay? We'll let democracy get overthrown, right? This is what Democrats say if Trump wins. Pro-Palestinian protesters, we don't give a damn. If you don't do what we want you to do, we will let Trump win. We'll let Biden lose. And guess what Democrats are doing? You have the highest ranking Democrat in the Senate come out and call for one of our allies, the leadership in that country, to be removed, calling for regime change in the government of one of our closest allies, something we've never seen before, right? This is unheard of because the left is holding the Democrats accountable. The right needs to hold the Republicans accountable when it comes to the border and the issues that we care about, the same way that the left holds the Democrats accountable. This is why the left always gets what they want, because they hold Democrats accountable. I'm so serious.
So they apply for asylum and then they wait. But that application for asylum starts a ticking clock. And so most of them will have work authorization within 6 months. That said, they may wait for years for their very first immigration court date. And it's a good thing, frankly, for them to be able to work. It doesn't mean that they're on social services provided by New York City or elsewhere. It means that they have papers, they can go get a job, be documented workers. And this, it turns out, is actually a pretty attractive source of potential workers for places like Tyson.
So why?
Well, they should be deported, right? People tell me, oh, well, it's good they're not on social services, they're not living off the system. Well, they shouldn't be here, period. Should be deported. Shouldn't even be having this conversation. But here we are. Here we are. It's happening, folks. It's happening.
Does Tyson have these, what seems to be immense hiring demands?
So it has a turnover rate of 40%, meaning 4 in 10 of its workers every year on its what it calls its frontline workers, the folks who are, washing the chicken, looking for bones, packing it up into trays. Very few of them are going to stick around in the long term. So it needs to hire something like 52,000 people this year. It already employs about 42,000 immigrants and refugees, but it sees this part of the workforce as a particularly good one for immigrants. They like to stay. They've often come from very difficult situations, and so the company is really investing in a lot of services for them, whether it's English language classes, certain childcare services, to try and convince them, come stay. You may make only $16.50 an hour to start, but this is a good job.
And this is a step.
Wow, they're investing in the illegals more than they invest in the Americans. Again, this is shameful. This is shameful. And it's only going to get worse, guys. I'm telling you, if Biden wins, he is going to grant mass work authorization for the illegals, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of this. I'm telling you. If there's one reason not to vote for Biden, it is this issue right here. Because he already told Eric Adams and Brandon Johnson, just wait till after the election. Just hold on to after the election. Let me win the election. All bets are off. All bets are off. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
A stable job. I can't get my words out today. So you were at a Tyson fair in New York City not so long ago where Tyson was basically making this pitch. What did you observe when you went there?
Yeah, so this is a fair put on by Tent Partnership for Refugees. This is a foundation. It's backed by the founder of Chobani. And what they did is they went out, they created a database for these new asylum seekers in New York City specifically. They recorded all their documents. And so Tyson reached out to them. They went through their database. They went through the list, said, you meet the work authorization criteria, you want to relocate, and we think also that you'll meet our physical. So these people would come in, they'd learn a little bit about the company, and for the most part, Tyson had already gone through their various details of their application. And so many of them, 17 the day I was there, and then another 70 a couple weeks later, went off to Tennessee to go start their new jobs as Tyson production workers.
So wrap this up.
Yeah, so again, what do you think is going to happen when there's news of this reaching some of these South American countries and these Central American countries where these illegals are coming from? A lot more gonna come. They be like, oh, we can come here, we can get a good factory job in the United States. We can make $16 an hour. We can get free housing, health care, child care. Again, this is insanity. This is insanity. Our government is so wicked. Our government is so corrupt that we can find money to send overseas to fight wars for other people. We can find money to give illegal immigrants housing, food, free healthcare, but taxpayers, you pay taxes and you got to pay for healthcare, right? You got to pay for healthcare even though you paid into the system. You got to pay for childcare even though you paid into the system. You got to pay for all these goods and services that they're going to give you half-assed, right? Because we know the government ain't good at providing these services in the first place. But yet they find all this money to give premium services to individuals that didn't even pay into any of the social safety net that we have to fight other people's wars, to, protect other countries' borders, can't protect our borders. It's despicable. That's how wicked our government is, guys. I'm so serious. And again, it takes two. It's the Democrats and the Republicans. Because like I told you, Democrats and Republicans at the federal level, they basically the same, right? Republicans just, for the most part, they disagree with Democrats and they occasionally agree with Democrats when it comes to the uniparty agenda. There's a difference at the local level, right? And I think that's why a lot of these local elections do matter. You don't want your state to be California, right? You probably much rather have your state be a Tennessee or a Florida or a North Carolina, okay? Or Texas. You definitely don't want to be a New York or California. So yeah, at the local level, there's a extreme difference between Democrats and Republicans. But at the federal level, these people are playing you. I'm so serious. They're two sides of the same coin. And this is why we're in this situation. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.